Good afternoon, everyone. This afternoon we're going to be getting the VN, putting it on the dyno, tuning it up, getting it ready for power cruise. For people that follow us previously, you would have seen the quick dyno run that I did with the car and probably heard a little bit about it, but I'm just going to explain what the combination is again, just for people that haven't seen that video, and then we'll start tuning it up. So those of you that don't know this car, well, most of everyone's familiar with it. This supercharger setup used to be on Brock's LH. Took that off that because we're putting a 540Q big block in that. Put the top end onto this engine, which is a different engine from that. It's an LSX block, 4-inch Callie's Magnum crankshaft, Wiseco boost line rods, CP Bullet Series pistons, AFR heads, custom hydraulic camshaft, Johnson short travel lifters, all the best studs you can get, all that stuff. It's an 871 high helix supercharger. There's twin 850 quick fuel carbies with a dual needle and seats on the secondary side. That's pretty much the combination. 3,500 RPM dominator converter, 1,000 horsepower turbo 400, which is nearly on its way out, I would assume. As you'll see by the end of this video, we exceed that. 31 spline, Borg Warner rear, full spool, 411 gears, which really it shouldn't have 411s in it. They're still in the car from when it had the aspirated 6-litre in it. Just before Christmas, fired it up, put on the dyno, ran in. I did one half throttle run, ran about 700 horsepower just to shake it down, made sure the engine was happy, bed the rings in, all that stuff. Threw a timing table into it, went 907 to the tyre, and I actually pulled it back a fair bit just because we wanted to take the car up to Harvey Bay and cruise it with friends and family. We did that, then ever since then really I've just cruised the car to a few meets and stuff like that, nothing serious. So I've cut the oil filter apart, which I do with all our engines just as a safety precaution, make sure nothing's eating itself apart or anything. As you know, these big engines, you can have problems. That's all sweet. So giving it an oil change, put it on the dyno. So now I'll fire it up, warm it up, get a video of that, get it up to operating temperature. I've added a bit of timing straight off the get-go because I know from the plug read and where the timing is. That's the next thing I will say. This video might be a little boring in the sense of it's not going to be a hell of a lot of figuring out. We have had this top end, I've been playing with this blower and carbs and everything on a few different engines for years, so I know the combination like the back of my hand. I know where it should be, and I can narrow it up very quickly. Probably not even going to need to change any jets or anything out in the carbs. Like I said, we've had that sorted for ages. So we'll run it up and see what it makes. Do a few plug reads, do some individual cylinder tuning, and crank a bit of timing into the thing and see what it makes. The other thing, actually, it never really had the throttle bracket that was on the car. It was too heavy, so to make it light, I had to sacrifice throttle. So the secondaries were only sort of quarter opening to make it so the pedal felt light and didn't feel terrible on the road. Obviously we're not racing on the road, so you don't need all that. So I fixed all that. Now I had to remake the linkages, and there was a fair bit of stuffing around. So now it has wide open throttle, so there'll be more power there as well. So as you've seen, we just warmed it up and we did a run that you'll see here. And it made, what did it make? 850 to the tyre. So I just added a couple of degrees. I ran it first, how we, with all the timing pulled out, how I was cruising around the road, it was 760 the tyre. Added a few degrees of timing in it. It just went 850. So we'll pull a plug, read a plug, which is, I know I can safely just throw 4 at it, but I just follow my precautions, better be safe. And then I'll throw another 2 degrees of timing in it and we'll run it again. All right, so we read a plug, I threw another 2 degrees at it, and just run it again, which you'll see here. And it just went 946 to the hub. So I'll pull a plug, let's see how that is. Once again, I know it's still going to want more, but every run, especially when you're dealing with this power level, we need to pull a plug and just see where we're at before we go any further. So I'll pull a plug now and I'll show you the plug read on that. So I've just pulled the spark plug to do a spark plug read. Try and zoom it in. You can see the timing mark is not even around the bend. So it's quite safe to say we can throw another 2 degrees in it. I think now at 16 PSI we're at about 10, 11 degrees. Not a great deal, especially with methanol. The main reason I want to keep reading the plugs, even though that timing number is pretty low, this is a relatively high compression engine for this supercharger. I'd have to look at the sheets when I build these engines. I document everything so I know, but off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure it's about 11 to 1, 11.2 to 1. So that with 16 odd pounds of boost on top of it, your timing numbers are going to be lower. So looking at the plug though, when I know I'm right, I'll throw another 2 degrees in it and just see what it picks up. So we just run it again, which you'll see here.
What are you going to say to yourself? You know that don't cut it.
Well, keep going.
And you wouldn't read about it. All I wanted to do is I didn't want to go leaning on this thing an absolute stupid amount and stress anything out more than I have to. I just wanted it to show 4 digits, just so I could say I had a 1,000 horsepower blown street car. And it's made 999.9 horsepower to the hub. So I'm just going to give it 1 degree now. Obviously I'll pull a plug, read it again. I'm just going to give it 1 degree. I just want to bump it up over 1,000 horsepower. The plug is still telling us, this is the plug from this run. Still a long way to go. But I think, and I spoke about this in the early videos, some of you might remember, these are only 850 carbies. It's going to get to a point, which I'm surprised we're not there already, where we just cannot get air through it, through the carbs. So we'll run into a restriction there. So I'll add 1 degree and see how we go. Righto, so we're just done the run and I'll put it here. that's the number we were looking for. Very interesting from my previous comment. I'll talk about that in a second. It just made 1004.6 to the hub. That's a tough street car. Street registered car making 1004 to the hub. 1004 to the hub is not a hard task these days. The thing that I am impressed with is that we did it with an 871 on a little LS, hydraulic camshaft. Blown motors tend to make a heap of torque, but 1,000 horsepower blown motor is a tough blown motor, especially through a turbo 400, 411 gears, all the stuff. To show that number at the hubs, you're probably making 1,300 at the flywheel. It's a tough LS. I pulled the plug, and the plug still, the timing mark is nowhere. So what's happened then though, if you look at the previous run, which I'll just bring up here. So that yellow run was the 3 runs before. So it went 947, and with 2 degrees of timing, it jumped to 1,000. So you're picking up 50 horsepower. So that's fine. That's obviously, we hadn't run into an airflow problem then. When I've given it, even though it's only a degree, it should still see more than this. It's only picked up 5 horsepower. Well, from the second last run to the last run. That's telling me, because I'm looking at the spark plug, that's not, the timing's not running out. It's the, we just can't get the air through these carbies now, so we're starting to find the restrictive point. It would be super cool one day to put a set of Pro Mod turbos on this thing and lean on it. Obviously you make heaps more power with turbos and superchargers, but on the streets and the power crews and all that stuff, in my opinion, these things are way better. Instant throttle response, like it's making your 1,000 horsepower like pretty well straight away. But it would be cool to put a set of big turbos on it, if maybe it was back in the LH, full tub 4-link cage car, and see what numbers it'd run, because yeah, that motor would be, you'd run a low 7 with that bottom end, no worries. That's about it for the VN. It was probably pretty non-eventful, like I said, because I know the combination that well. It doesn't take, really all I was doing was just dialing in the timing table and everything. Before power crews, I've got to service the trans. I'm going to put new wheel studs in it because they look like they're being stretched. A little bit worried about that. And a little bit of general maintenance, and go down there and rip some tyres off it. So it's going to be awesome fun, and I'm going to film that event too, so it should be good. As always, thanks for watching. Sorry that it was a short video. It was a bit non-eventful, but yeah, like, subscribe, share it around, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, and we really appreciate the support. See you guys. This is the best bit about a blower car.